us today for Frost and Sullivan's Growth Council Growth Webinar, Healthcare Transformation, Top 10 Growth Opportunities Shaping the Future of Healthcare in 2025. My name is Julieta, and before we begin, I would like to go over a few notes. We encourage you to ask questions throughout the Growth Webinar using the Q&A or raise hand feature. Today's event will be available on demand shortly after we've finished. We will have a poll question and look forward to your interaction. I want to hand it over to growth expert and Vice President of Healthcare and Life Sciences, Nitin Naik, who will lead today's growth webinar. Over to you, Nitin.
Thank you, Julieta, and hello, and thank you everyone for joining. We are delighted to host today's exciting webinar topic, the top 10 growth opportunities for healthcare and life sciences. It's an important topic and in front of everybody's mind as the industry evolves through different transformations. My name is Nitin Naik. I'm the practice area leader for healthcare and life sciences at Frost & Sullivan, and I'm the VP responsible for our analytics business. So I'll be your moderator today, as well as I will give you some insights on these topics. As Julieta mentioned, you can submit questions at any time, and we'll try and take them post-webinar. Today's webinar also will be recorded, and you can access it on demand by visiting frost.com. We have an exciting panel over here. I'm impressed with their background and the work they have done. So we will be taking actually their expertise and also understanding what are some of the bigger trends we need to keep in mind throughout 2025. So let's take a moment to introduce today's presenters. I will start with the Frost & Sullivan team, Aarti Chitle.
Hi, everyone. My name is Aarti Chitre. I'm the Senior Industry Analyst with the Healthcare and Life Sciences practice. I have about 15 years of experience within the healthcare industry, and I hold expertise around the contract research services and contract manufacturing services, as well as the technology-enabled drug discovery and development landscape. And I look forward to today's very interesting discussion. Thank you. Over to you, Nitin.
Thank you. I'll let Alejandra Parra do a short introduction.
Sorry. My name is Alejandra Parra. I'm located in Argentina. I have been a research analyst for the digital healthcare team at Frost & Sullivan for almost 2 years. My areas of expertise are cybersecurity and patient engagement. And I hope that this webinar is going to be so richful. Back to you, Nitin.
Thank you. Let's go with the panel team over here. Nala Masterson.
I'm Nola, and I'm the venture partner in Portfolio, and I invest out of the Femtech funds.
Thank you, Nala. Excited to have you here. Chinmaya Rath.
Hi, everyone. My name is Chinmaya Rath. I have more than 25 years of experience in big pharma, biotech, VC. Currently, I'm the strategic advisor to Cellworks, and also a venture partner with Social Impact Capital, where I'm a board member of a few companies.
Brian A., League Health.
Hi, everyone. Brian Ye. I'm a member of the executive leadership team at League. In the simplest terms, League is a software company that enables payers, providers, and other healthcare organizations to create personalized digital experiences for their consumers.
Thank you, Brian. And then finally, Sandeep Pulim, who's an advisor to multiple companies.
Thanks, Nitin. Hi, everyone. I'm Sandeep Pulim. I'm a physician entrepreneur. Been involved in building several companies over the last 10 years, currently helping to advise early stage growth companies in digital health, pharma, life sciences, primarily through new enterprise ventures.
Fantastic. And, as we go through the presentation, we will be not just discussing trends, but also taking experiences and perspectives from our esteemed panel to comment on some of these opportunities. So let's just, jump right into the top 10 opportunities. If you look at the industry and the transformation, it continues to go through different cycles. And we always get the question in terms of what are the key growth opportunities. So this is really an industry, industry transformation slide. It's pretty interesting to me because there are a lot of developments below the surface. 2023 and 2024 had a challenging period, but what are we going to talk today is how some of these opportunities mean for companies that are specifically focused on pharma, biotech, and the digital health sectors. The term transformation, attracts a lot of hype. For most parts, we've seen it sort of looking at from an inefficiency frontier point of view, but really more and more as AI and machine learning and cloud and a lot of the more disruptive platforms have taken center stage. The industry is now witnessing transformation from an holistic perspective. So we have looked at primarily two types of transformation. One is from the patient care and the patient care delivery side of things. And then, of course, from the other perspective at the enterprise level, which is at the care management transformation perspectives. So on the patient care delivery model, precision health, which is primarily looking at oncology, cardiovascular, as well as the infectious diseases, is an important area for us to navigate. And Aarti will actually deep dive into some of the trends and also opportunities on the precision oncology perspective. It's important to keep in mind that as we look at these opportunities, the shifting of sands is probably now not just looking at the changing needs of patients, but also on how providers or payers are actually aligning and looking at that expectation. So we will look at not just how companies are adjusting their portfolios and their capabilities, but also the important aspect of partnerships with either biotech firms, academia, and technology providers. And that's where I'm hoping Chinmaya and Brian and Sandeep and Lala are going to actually share in their perspectives. And finally, from the enterprise transformation point of view, I look at it from an operating model perspective, meaning how are companies sort of using resources, customer engagement, customer experience, and actually taking it a new level to deliver its products and services. And that's why we will touch upon concepts on generative AI especially, and the entire move towards SaaS and how that is becoming mainstream in this growth opportunities. So with that, I will transition and invite Aarti Chitle to talk a little bit briefly about precision health, oncology, and where does she see some of the growth opportunities.
Thank you so much, Nitin. Hi, everyone again. So, right away getting into the topic of precision oncology. To start off, precision health, as we know it, is basically it's a personalized, a prescriptive, and a preventative approach towards healthcare. And one of the key elements of precision health is obviously patient centricity and personalization, be it of the drug or the therapy or the overall care delivery, which sort of put together, we call it as the patient care continuum. And now within the spectrum of precision medicine, there have been obviously multiple focus areas in terms of the therapy areas. It could be neurology, it could be rare diseases, but the most sought after area remains oncology. And hence, within the oncology spectrum, when we look further, where we have been doing a lot of deep dive within the precision oncology segment, here we came across a new area which seems to be gaining a lot of traction, and that is radiopharmaceuticals or radioligand therapeutics. Now, obviously, this is a novel class of cancer medications which sort of use a specific targeting chemical and target only the the cancer cells by preventing the healthy cells surrounding them. And this in itself is a revolutionary transformation to look at. RLTs presently have shown a lot of promise within the prostate cancer segment and are also being explored increasingly within other rare cancers, breast cancer, lung cancer, and so on. In fact, I would like to quote one example here is that pharma companies, larger pharma companies, they're actually looking to sign a lot of licensing deals with these specialized companies who are developing radiopharmaceuticals. I think Sanofi, they signed an exclusive licensing agreement with Radiomedics and Orano Med to advance their pipelines of rare cancers using radioligand therapeutics. And in fact, this segment is obviously witnessing a lot of increased investments, with just the US landscape showing over 500% growth when it comes to VC deal values. And moving forward, what we are estimating is this overall market could reach up to 13 billion in value, and almost 50% of that value would be actually captured by prostate cancer. In fact, Novartis has two products, which is Pluvicto and Lutathera, which are currently FDA approved. And in fact, Pluvicto, I think it's on the way to become a blockbuster product as well. Apart from that, I think if we have to talk about the future in terms of precision oncology, there are certain areas that pharma companies need to look at from our perspective. One being the, larger biopharma companies, especially, they should look at early stage acquisitions, in the sense acquiring early stage assets from these specialized or niche companies. Essentially, this will help them not only, support their existing pipeline, enhance their existing pipelines, but also at the same time build the technical know-how from the very beginning and thereby strengthen their position within the industry. Furthermore, I think they also need to focus on building supply chain capabilities to enhance the supply chain dynamics for these radioligand therapies, because they obviously require these specialized care handling during the entire supply chain. And lastly, for the small to mid-segment players, I think they can look at partnering with specialized CDMOs with companies like, in fact, Atomwe, Spectron RX, or Cardinal Health. These are some of the well-known CDMOs who have been developing or have already established capabilities within the radiopharmaceutical segments. And before we move on to the next opportunity, I would definitely like to highlight a couple of companies within this segment which have been really doing something out of the box. The first one being Aricium Therapeutics. They actually have a couple of lead candidates which are specifically targeting neuroendocrine cancers or recurrent glioblastoma. And this company also has been growing leaps and bounds by means of mergers and acquisitions. They had acquired Diagnostics and ISPEN to really build their pipeline of therapeutics. Apart from Aricium, there are other companies like Radionetics Oncology. This company also has been developing small molecule-based radiopharmaceuticals to actually treat breast cancer, lung cancer, and many other higher unmet need areas, especially within the rare cancer segments. And in fact, this particular company, they have also, have had a funding of about 52.5 million, which is being used to propel their pipelines. Moving on from the fact of radiopharmaceuticals and more specifically precision oncology, one more aspect that we would like to touch upon is the market access and, really the product launches. Now, as we talk about precision medicine, from the enterprise solutions perspective, even the market access solutions are pretty much in line with the very industry mega trend of precision medicine and patient centricity. There are equal efforts being made towards personalizing the commercialization, the product commercialization, by means of personalizing the HCP interactions, especially when we talk about these newer novel therapies, there is obviously a premium pricing associated with these novel therapies, and therefore devising tailor-made pricing strategies is also a strategic imperative for the pharma companies to move ahead. In fact, just to highlight a few trends in this perspective, we see that the IR pricing negotiations, which will come now that Trump is back in action, now that Trump is back as the president of the United States. I think this is going to impact the long-term product revenues. The administration may also revive the most favored nation drug pricing policy, and there might be a shift towards the Medicare Advantage plan in the future. All of these will definitely have a direct impact on the overall drug pricing and the insurance associated with the same. However, the administration is essentially looking at expanding the price transparency across the hospitals, outpatient services, physician services, and so on. And apart from that, just to make sure that there is a good enough adoption of these novel therapies, pharma companies are actually looking at KOL based influencing, which is also called as influencer marketing, which is helping them build credibility. In fact, industry surveys, they have indicated that almost 80% healthcare professionals, they're looking for either a hybrid sales representative communication or a complete virtual interaction. And because of this, obviously there is a lot of technology implementation within the market access segment or market commercialization aspect. And therefore, moving on, I think for the pharma companies, first thing, building innovative pricing models in the form of, say, co-pay card programs or through various patient support programs is obviously going to help them in steadying up the pricing of these high-value drugs. Apart from that, I think because AI/ML has been playing a lot of role in terms of specific HCP targeting, tailor-making the marketing approaches and sales approaches for the healthcare professionals. I think partnering with these technology vendors is also going to be a very important step for the pharma companies. In fact, one example that I would like to quote here is IQVIA, which is obviously a global company, which is not just a contract research organization, but they are into technology solutions, and the list just goes on. They have created a custom algorithm, which is called as IQVIA SORMs. These algorithms basically function by combining their internal data with global healthcare data sets and define specific subpopulation groups, which in itself will help them in identifying the HCPs to target. Similarly, I think programmatic advertising is also emerging as a very important aspect when it comes to market access. Companies like Eversana, they have created something called as Eversana In Touch Solutions, which provide these integrated programmatic marketing by culminating the media and digital innovation with the patient, the payer, and the healthcare communications expert. And therefore, it's just really like a holistic system or a platform to support market access. Just to sum it up, I think apart from the patients, the providers, even the payers and the PBMs, they are working towards value-based or outcomes-based pricing models. And they have been, it has been a traditional way of looking into the market. But at the same time, what they're doing is they are taking in technology, they're adopting technology and moving forward to just simplify these processes and obviously making them cost effective at the same time.
Yeah.
So I would like
hi, Aarti. Just quick comment over here, and of course, interest of also covering the other important topics. This is definitely an important topic, and I think from our seat, what we see is precision health is a complex journey, and especially for companies, it's critical to understand the risks of disruption and investment. So we'll also have the panel speak about from that experiences, but let's go and try and look at it now from an enterprise transformation perspective, and I would like to have Alejandra actually share some of her perspectives.
Thank you, Nitin. Well, in this case, for mental and behavioral health, the solutions are going to continue to flourish. because this sector is expanding fast, is fueled by digital solutions that enhance accessibility and personalization. This market is expected to grow, driven by a greater awareness, integration into primary care, and focus on equity. We have some significant growth opportunities for shaping this space. First, an increased awareness and equity, because mental health now is seen as essential to overall wellness, pushing for better integration into healthcare systems. Then we have tech-driven personalization, where AI-powered diagnostics and digital therapeutics are enabling early detection and customized treatment plans. And also we have patient empowerment, where digital tools like wearables, chatbots, and self-management apps are helping individuals to take a proactive role in their mental well-being. Something very particular in these mental and behavioral health solutions are the women's mental health, where now we are addressing some issues as perinatal depression, hormonal mood disorders, and gender-based stress, ensuring more inclusive care and lifelong support. So now we count with more gender diversity, and that's a base to care delivery. About the companies, we have several going through different approaches and point of views of mental health. For instance, BioMind uses digital biomarkers and AI for cognitive health assessments. We have Headway, a platform that connects individuals with therapists and simplifies access to mental health care. We also have Ellipsis Health, that leverage voice-based AI to monitor conditions like depression and anxiety. And we have Mind Peers, an Indian mental wellness platform offering therapy, self-help tools, and assessments. So the future of mental health is digital, personalized, and accessible. Now, I think definitely it's time to invest in scalable, AI-driven solutions that transform patient care.
Next slide.
Great. Regarding this is another topic for enterprise solutions. And it's generative AI. Now is a great boom about AI and generative AI. But for hospital workflow, we have so many interesting things because generative AI is revolutionizing hospital workflows by optimizing and automatizing operations and asset management. As healthcare delivery integrates across at hospital, care at home, and virtual care settings, ensuring efficient resource allocation and streamlined processes has become critical to improving care delivery and reducing waste. And GenAI achieves that task. The growth opportunities in this field highlight the immense potential of Gen AI, for instance, in operational decision support, tools like digital twin power systems enable hospitals to track patient flow, map resource placement, and ensure optimal asset utilization during care delivery. Also at home care optimization, because Gen AI supports operational systems that manage technology setup, staff preparation, and asset tracking for home-based care, preventing losses and improving efficiency. And we have financial workflow automation, where prior authorization remains a bottleneck for providers. That's true now, but AI-powered tools can automate payer requirements, attach evidence from EHRs, and streamline claim filling, leading to fewer rejections and enhanced productivity. So the impact is undeniable. some research said that 49% of 100 respondents predict it will be extremely or very disruptive to hospital workflows in the next 2 years. Regarding the companies, we have a CASA that simplifies revenue cycle management with payer-agnostic AI solutions, HIT Global that focuses on asset tracking and operational efficiency through healthcare-specific technologies, and GE Healthcare that offers command centers for real-time tracking and operational support, bridging in-hospital and at-home care. So generative AI is transforming hospital workflows, paving the way for efficiency, transparency, automatization, and better patient care. Go back to you, Nathan.
Thank you, Alejandra. And I think, just a sort of a quick summary, precision health, looking at women's health, and also the larger concept of managing chronic care, seems to be an important sort of discussion over here. But let's just, jump right in now with the panel. I would invite, and maybe starting with Brian, Nala, please, tell us a little bit about your, your company's platform or investment approach, and how are, some of the key market dynamics reshaping your strategy. And then we'll come to Chinmaya and Sandeep, taking a different perspective on the pharma, biotech, and the medtech side. But over to you, Brian and Nala, to share some insights.
Yeah, certainly there's an AI component that everybody's talking about. This has transformed, I would say, even in the last 6 to 12 months. I think we'll get into that in a little bit later. I think one of the trends that we're seeing also with our customers and potential customers is, just given sort of market dynamics, financial concerns, those kinds of things, very important for us as a partner to show up with demonstrable outcomes that can build business cases so that people can invest in things like consumer experience and digital consumer experience in particular. So we're spending a lot of effort this year in particular on both the capabilities, the foundational capabilities to measure those things, as well as actually just having all of those proof points in things like closing care gaps, managing conditions, and those kinds of things. And then I think the other thing that we're seeing, again, given sort of more market dynamics around investment profiles and how many companies have actually had a lot of challenge over the last couple of years, is just a growing interest in partnerships. We're not going to build everything on our own, but we do want to stitch together a very cohesive experience. And so, working with partners that have complementary technology capabilities will make us go so much faster and create more impact for our customers.
Thank you. And I want to hold on to your, interesting comment on, the classic make, build or buy. And I think it's an important conversation from that perspective. Nala, would be interesting to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, we started the Femtech Fund in 2018, and we set out with the mission to create the first venture fund product that helps women activate their wealth for returns and impact. And since then, we have done 50 plus investments in women's health companies, and we were named the top 10 medtech VC last year. So we've been busy looking at what I call the untapped space, which is women's health, because women's health has not been front and center even at the research level. Well, most of our drugs have been tested on male rats and mice and men. So we really don't understand women's bodies as well as we should. And we're on a mission to make sure that women get the treatment that they need that's designed for their bodies. And we've designed a venture capital fund that allows women to put their money to work. I see a lot of changes coming for women. They're not going to take menopause sitting down anymore. They want more drugs in that area. We're really going to try and help women that are pregnant, have deliveries that don't cause tearing, that don't cause excessive bleeding. It's funny that we're in the United States, which is supposedly one of the best healthcare countries in the world, and yet we lose mothers and babies more than most other countries. So we've got a lot of work to do, and we're primed to do it. We're happy to be here and be part of Frost & Sullivan, because I don't think women's health has been very much front and center over the past 50 years.
Yeah, thank you. Again, it's an important conversation. So Chinmay, I know at Cellworks, you're doing some amazing things. So it would be interesting to hear, the story about your platform, and also, how it's sort of accelerating in the innovation process and making it more reliable to dealing with even issues around, perhaps women's health.
No, I think, thank you for giving me this opportunity to come over here. From the perspective of Cellworks, I would say that, the company is very uniquely positioned in doing something which nobody else is doing today. And that's what is exciting me from the portfolio of companies, having joined them recently as their strategic advisor, which is actually evolving the entire industry towards moving from a single biomarker to patient-specific therapy response index, and especially focusing on diseases with complex etiology, like oncology, immunology. It's not one gene, it's multiple genes. There are multiple pathways which are intersecting with each other. So in that dynamic, the company has actually taken three major steps. One, over the decade, developed a mechanistic biology model of the human cells at molecular level of protein and protein interaction. This is not from the AI perspective, but more mechanistically looking at the entire landscape of 6,000 plus genes. And then next, what they do is that, from the perspective of omics data, collect the patient's omics data and dynamically transform this mechanistic biology model to represent each and individual patient's characteristics. And once they have done that, what they do is then look at the therapy and see which therapy has the highest probability of response for each specific patient. And in that space, what we have also, the entire industry is realizing that each patient has a very different profile and dynamics. There are comorbidities for which a drug works, doesn't work. And how we can evolve in this space is something which everyone is looking forward to. It's the elephant in the room, which people feel that this is what we have been grandfathered into and maybe do not have a solution for it. To leave you with a thought, more than 90% of the therapies or assets which are in the clinical development are failing right now. And there's a huge systemic wastage because of this. There are many scopes of improvement, shorter lines, focused therapy perspective that could come in, and truly, personalized medicines which could work in this space.
Yeah, and I think it's good to know the sort of data-driven approach which your company is sort of bringing, right? Because we need that to just generate and improve the efficiency of better outcomes, not at a particular stage, but actually at every stage of the product life cycle. So with that, also let me, maybe pivot to Sandeep and take a view on Sandeep. You've sort of worked with different, startups, especially from a regulatory perspective. So tell us a little bit more about how some of these frameworks are evolving and how, they are supporting some of this accelerated innovation in the industry.
Sure. Yeah. Going back a couple of years now, the FDA has put in place some regulatory requirements around using software as a medical device. That's been a real driving force in adopting some of these applications that have gone through an approval process where you're relying on, when people are not in the loop for some of these decision-making processes. So going through that software as a medical device approval process allows some credibility to your solutions to be able to say, this has been reviewed, you've been studied, you've went through some trials. And this is actually especially important as the volume of these type of requests have been coming in through the FDA. So if you look at for example, just in terms of AI algorithms that the FDA has approved, the rate and volume has exponentially grown over the last several years compared to over the last 10 years, right? In the last 2-3 years, I think something like 400 new algorithms have gone through this approval process just on the AI front. And then, specifically related to AI, organizations such as Coalition for Health AI, for example, have started to work on the clinical application of AI, not like process improvement or, back-end workflow improvements for hospitals, actually clinical applications, the responsible use of AI in healthcare and building on efforts to include safety, reliability, transparency, equity. And so these are important issues to be able to understand. If you're developing AI tools and modules, then there's a framework that you've gone through. So there's several organizations that are in the field today that are providing some construct and framework if you're building these AI tools that you've gone through some sort of regulatory process.
Yeah. So and from the way these sort of forces have been impacting, especially the pharma biotech industry, is also then the question about how are we going to work through this patchwork of solutions, right? We almost think sometimes there is this just jointment in some of the processes when you sort of go from R&D to manufacturing, and then of course taking the solution to the patient. So I want to kind of move to the next sort of questions on some of the conversions. We've talked about some of the more disruptive technologies in digital health, and I know Brian League is sort of working on some of those. So let's start with you, trying to answer to the larger question of how is patient care or some of the healthcare delivery models adopting to these converging technologies, be it genomics, wearables, RPM. Would be good to hear your perspective, Brian.
Yeah, I think those are obviously having an impact in many places, in particular with specific conditions. I think in addition to those, obviously there's been a dramatic shift in the last few years towards virtual and digital variations of these kinds of solutions. That's true in many women's health areas, but true more broadly. And that actually creates, although those are very effective solutions sort of in their own right, they're also very deep and narrow. So that's creating what we sometimes think of as like a point solution fatigue. The patient or a health plan member is not really aware of all of the possible solutions that are available to them, might be covered under their benefits and those kinds of things. And so, having all of these deep solutions is great, but we need to create some degree of orchestration and navigation towards those. And then also make sure that they're not very disparate experiences, right? So if I have a couple of different conditions, I don't want to be answering the same question for all of those conditions. If I'm getting data in support of one condition, I don't want to have to connect something that's very similar to support a different point solution to bring it back to the wearables. And so that's a problem that our customers are starting to address, in part by asking these vendors to play more nicely within their technology ecosystem, share data with them, support things like embedding those solutions in existing member portals, things of that nature, allowing them to have more control, so that as a health plan, as an example, with a member, I can kind of create that experience that's more consistent and coherent, and ultimately driving to better engagement and better outcomes.
Yeah, it's interesting to note, how things are sort of very quickly changing in the digital health world, and actually gradually improving, the patient engagement, all the customer experience. Sandeep, what's your, perspective in terms of how some of the companies, especially some of the startup companies you're working with, how are they trying to move this needle?
Yeah, no, I think Brian said it really well. The just shift towards having moving away from point solutions to more of like a platform approach, where you can consolidate multiple sources of information into a cohesive view of what's happening to your members, your patients. And so that if you're not a hospital system, a health plan, a clinic, you have the resources to be able to personalize the experience for that individual. So For example, we used to work with the library of digital biomarkers in my previous company that allowed us to build programs that did acute hospital home management of patients who can then transition to post-acute, but that involved combining various inputs along that patient journey so that when you have the care team, the workflow, this information is embedded and available within the workflow so that decision-making happens faster and more efficiently. But then more importantly, there's a team approach with the patient in the middle so that everybody's on the same page as the needs change, as new information comes in from wearables, from devices that are now passively monitoring, especially this shift from episodic data to more continuous data streams as the devices have evolved, and the ability now to collect and personalize this care wherever the patient is. So bringing this care model in a decentralized way, allowing this data to then allow the patient to have predictive care so that it can be prescriptive to their personal needs. So this allows you now to, as Brian alluded to, you can now manage more complex patients where they're not in a traditional facility like a hospital. So this care, more and more of these requirements for patients are requiring to be delivered in a setting that's not traditionally the hospital. So as more people are aging in place, you have to be able to build these systems in a way that are connected, but are communicating, so you can coordinate, manage, and deliver the care that's needed.
Thank you. And Nala, I understand you've sort of also invested in wearables technology through portfolio. Would be interesting to also hear your views in terms of how that has sort of shaped the move towards personalization.
Well, we like personalized medicine at Portfolio. We invested in a company called Apollo Neuro, which has a device that has a vibrational algorithm for different things, especially for going back to sleep at night if you wake up in the middle of the night. And it tracks a lot of what your body's doing and can intercede in a vibrational manner. Vibrational health is also being used by a company called Bone Health, which has an OsteoBoost belt, which is used for osteopenia, where you can preserve bone density without having to go into osteoporosis. So those two companies are both using vibrational health, which is becoming mainstream in the United States for another way to take the body and tweak it. The vibrational health talks to the nervous system rather than the endocrine system, the vagus nerve is the main nerve that's being stimulated in both of these devices. And it seems to have a really positive effect on the body, as well as it's really not a chemical or biological. And I've watched the biological revolution in healthcare since the early 80s, when I was an investor in biotech companies and a biotech analyst. And I'm really interested now to see that we're finally looking at the nervous system as a starting point for health and wellness.
Fascinating. And I think, what we're sort of also hearing is, besides personalization, it's also the ability to make sure the care delivery is becoming visible, across the care continuum, and some of the stakeholders then actually intercept, issues around especially compliance, right? So that, we are sort of taking action before the actual trigger or the case, gets to a very severe sort of a condition. Well, I'm going to let Julieta actually launch a short poll before we get to the next round of questions. Julieta, over to you.
Thank you, Nitin. Here you can see our poll. I will read the question for those who are watching via LinkedIn Live. Which strategic imperatives will impact your business the most in 2025? And we have certain options you can choose for. It's a multiple choice, so feel free to choose more than one. We will leave this open for a minute or so all of you can vote. We're receiving here your votes. We will share results in a few seconds. Okay, I'll be closing the poll in the next 10 seconds if you'd like to submit your vote. Wonderful. So let me share the results with you. If you can see here, Nitin, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Julieta. And very clearly, it aligns with some of the discussions we had, more on the business model transformation. I mean, that's, definitely an important issue. And then looking at disruptive technology. In fact, the next set of discussion points I had was around really some of this disruptive technology. So I'll hold on, Julieta, until you post the next poll.
Wonderful. So the next poll, I'll be launching it right now, is can Frost & Sullivan be your transformation partner? You can talk to our experts to dive deeper into transformational strategies and explore specific needs within your company. You can also join Frost & Sullivan's Growth Council and gain access to growth webinars focused on transformational growth strategies. Or you can designate your company as a company to action to increase exposure to investors, new M&A opportunities, and other growth prospects for your business. Or finally, you can become a Frost growth expert in your area of specialization and share your expertise and passion with the community through our growth webinars. I'll leave this poll open for a minute or so, and once this webinar concludes, Frost & Sullivan team will connect with you to discuss your responses. Over to you, Nitin, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Julieta. So let's continue our discussion. I think we've covered solid aspects on the care delivery transformation. Now I would like to switch to the care management aspects, and again this goes back to the important concept on disruptive technologies. I mean, AI and machine learning is all over the place. So want to get Brian's and Sandeep, your attention to how are AI and machine learning approaches transforming, especially new product development in digital health and life sciences.
If I'll go first, it is fundamentally a transformation. I think in the last 3 to 4 years, or maybe even going back 5 to 10 years, AI has been sort of like a buzzword that many people talk about, but really the advances over the last, again, 6, 12, 18 months are fundamentally different. A year ago, we would have conversations with customers and they're like, well, we're testing it, we want to be safe, et cetera. And now everybody's all in. So from our perspective, from a product development and in particular a technology product development perspective, it's completely changing our development cycle. We used to have like a focused team that would build models. Instead of that, it's really infused across all of our platform and feature development. And so we have experts that sort of embed within all members of our product development team to actually transform that. And we're thinking about it not only as like ways to generate new products, things that allow more conversational interactions as an example, but also how do we infuse that into all of our existing things so that, in every interaction, there might be an AI component or at least a much more intelligent component, and something that we're looking at very, very carefully and will be part of our roadmap for, this year, next year, and maybe forever at this point.
Yeah, and just to add to what Brian said, Nathan, I think AI has been around for over 20 years, especially in the healthcare space, behind the scenes in terms of how folks are thinking about using the technology in as it relates to patient care, clinical decision making. But I think what's changed over the last 3 years is the accessibility to AI tools, so that because of the generative AI component that has been built. More people that are traditionally not PhD level data scientists, you can now use these tools to make your workflow more efficient, build the tools and resources necessary to enable scaling of the limited resources you currently have, streamline some of the, well, if you see where there's a lot of activity, especially in the clinical space right now, a lot of back-end operations are benefiting from this. And in the patient-facing side, the clinician impact has been around documentation, improving the efficiency of workflow to give some time back to clinicians to be able to spend more time with patients. And moving forward, adopting these tools into the way your team internally is also able to work more efficiently, as Brian alluded to, product teams, the ability to expand and understand where there's opportunities without having to create dedicated resources. And if you are leveraging this type of a work stack now within your own company, you're going to see a lot more productivity, I think, gains from this moving forward.
Yeah, I think I agree on your comment on productivity. I mean, it's an important concept, especially when you're looking at how some of these technologies are enabling shifting of the curve, right? Because that's where you would have the impact from what I would say a compute sort of a multiplier, right? Every time the equation gets much better, which is either efficient or effective, and the impact you could clearly see it, at least from some of the new generation AI models, is the significant improvement in some of the more important cognitive tasks, right? And our industry specifically would benefit a lot if there was a rapid transformation in some of that. I mean, Chinmay, you talked about the failure in clinical trials, right? Which is, hey, how do I design a trial? How do I find the best patients? How do I find the most effective investigators, for example, right? And then Nola, you talked about using some of the wearable technologies in those very specific sort of cases. So we are actually pretty hopeful about these new developments in AI. I mean, the models are getting better and better, hopefully also cost effective. And also the silver lining that, with the technology being democratized, across the different, levels, it'll be just much easier for not just, the physicians, but also maybe, some of the practitioners who are actually, taking this to the patient care and patient delivery, at a very regular time. So interesting to sort of hear about, those, insights, and let's, switch as we talk about, those issues, but also to some of the issues around geopolitical, sort of transitions. I mean, Aarti, you mentioned issues around how changes in the US and of course changes in the European environment are causing some uncertainties. So really want to hear from the panel in their impressions on what are some of the potential headwinds or tailwinds for the industry in 2025, especially under the new US administration, or also how the changes are going on in the European market. So maybe if we could start, Chinmaya, at your end, taking a view on the pharma biotech, and then we could maybe slowly pivot to the other panelists understanding their perspective on digital health and the medtech industry.
Sure, Nitin. I mean, from the perspective of biopharma, I would say that definitely this is a very exciting year that we look forward to. As we have all known, drug conjugates, bispecifics, there have been tremendous demand. You have seen the success of, Summit Akeso last year, and many other companies and players who are coming into the market. And I believe that bioconjugates and bispecifics will be dominating much of this decade now. And from the angle of the industry, compared to last year, of course, 2019 was a very different year, and it was a blip in the radar. But definitely we are evolving more, and we see 2025 2025 as a year where there would be more M&As. From the administrative perspective, one great thing would be the FTC support, more to facilitate the deal makings happening. And also, I feel that the incretin space, the space where Lilly, Novo Nordisk with Ozempic and Mounjaro have really dominated the scenario last year. This will continue. There will be further, perspectives on deal makings happening with much smaller players, where the bigger pharmas would want to, also be in the incretin space. On the angle of the geopolitical scenario, I think from the Biosecure Act, it was ups and downs last year, but seems like this year with the new admin and bipartisan support, it will be more strongly enforced. And last but not the least, which comes to my mind, is the inefficiency I was talking about from the clinical development perspective. I feel that the industry is moving towards how to nip the evil in the bud from the perspective of driving better efficiency and focusing on improving the PTRS, or what we call as the probability of technical and regulatory success for clinical development. So these are some of the dynamics I feel headwinds or tailwinds would impact the industry from biopharma perspective.
Thank you. And Brian, Nala, would you want to add your insights at least?
Yeah, I'm just going to put a cautionary note here, because although everybody thinks a lot about AI, in the healthcare profession, AI has a lot of lacks. It lacks clinical validation. And unless you get clinical trials or real world data that proves that AI has a benefit, the health care decision makers are really skeptical about applying it unless there's a real world need that they can see that it would immediately solve the problem. So visibility and network, the access to get to the decision makers. Without the right connections, the startups are struggling to get their solutions in front of the people who matter, who make the decisions. And then they have, and this goes to the Trump administration, the funding and resources allocations are going to be huge, requiring a lot of investment, not only in technology, but in human capital. And if it gets pulled, we're going to have a slowdown in the adoption of the AI. So those are some of my concerns, Nitin.
Yeah, I would sort of resonate with some of your ideas. I think this is a transformative journey, right? And it needs to go through a certain sort of a proof point, and hopefully we can see those proof points very quickly before the industry sort of loses sort of confidence in some of the newer emerging models per se. Sandeep, Brian, any other insights to add?
Oh no, I think both Nola and Janai did a great job summarizing, so I have nothing to add to that.
Nothing from me either.
Well, fantastic. So, we are coming to the close of the webinar. So I would like to do a quick recap in terms of what we have discussed today. I think we talked about the top 10 growth opportunities, specifically from a care management and care delivery point of view. Frost Sullivan looks at this from both a business model and operating model transformation. And it was very interesting to get perspectives from the panel, especially in terms of personalization, the impact of disruptive technology, and how that is quickly moving to scale. But at the same time, also the risk associated by sort of not living up to that expectations, especially from a clinical validation standpoint. And then I think we also heard the regulatory frameworks, which are evolving pretty quickly and are sort of supporting the industry's sort of transformation journey. So with that, what I would like to invite the panelists is to share one powerful trend or a growth opportunity that would be most important for the audience to remember about what we have discussed today. Maybe we'll start with Chinmaya and then move to Nala and other panelists.
Sure. I mean, as I was mentioning earlier, one key takeaway from biopharma perspective, and which is very intriguing, and this, I'm talking about billions of dollars of cost and plus time that it takes to get an asset to the market. 90% failure rate in our industry, which is evolving so much. Are there any ways by leveraging technology, by leveraging next generation perspectives or ideas to take it to improve this is going to be very important, because this is probably the precursor based on which everything else happens in the market, whether it's the pricing, the reimbursement scenario, patient outcomes, all of this is related to this. This is probably one of the foundation levels from biopharma perspective.
Brian, maybe your insights.
I would just say the intersection of digital and the growth opportunity around mental health is really exciting to me, and just as a way to kind of expand access. One of our customers had launched a new partner in this space in 2024, and one thing that I thought was fascinating was 80% of the members that access this digital or virtual solution were accessing mental health care for the first time. So this is like an unmet need that they haven't been able to get serviced, and so it's dramatically changing access and therefore outcomes.
I agree with Brian. Mental health is really an important part. I'm seeing a lot of apps and digital companions for mental health. And you're right, Brian. It hasn't been an area that people have been. They've been stigmatized if they go to a therapist. So this takes the stigma out of getting some help, and it's really important. And also for the data that we need for women's health. There's a lot of good places to go now for women to track their periods, to track their moods, to track their hormones, which has not been done by the normal healthcare system. So we don't have the data to interrogate about what's happening to your body because we haven't collected the data. And I think we need to collect women's data differently than men. And we have to be saying, is this a woman or a man that you're talking to?
And I think the key takeaway for me was the convergence of all of these technologies and the potential for impacting the highest cost and utilization of our healthcare resources as you start aging, and the impact of these aging populations is going to become a key driver of how technology can be used to improve the care, improve access to care, covering all of the mental health, women's health. I think it's going to be critical to be able to address these issues as we deal with an aging population.
Fantastic. So with that, I think I would like to close the call. I really appreciate everyone's time and investment in today's discussion. It was fascinating to hear the perspectives, both pharma, biotech, medtech, as well as digital health. And clearly, there are multiple opportunities, but at the same time, risks to be managed as we go through these transformations. So again, thank you for joining us for this discussion. We will also have a series of additional growth webinars planned towards the rest of the year. And I look forward to, again, joining you on these discussions in the near future. Thank you.